Hola, estrellitas. This is Sol,
And this is Luna, and we are Chillonas.
pero badass. Luna, I was thinking about a story I've never told you about.
Oh, I'm ready. It's juicy. All your stories are juicy, Sol.
Girl, and those are my life experiences.
Es mi vida.
I think, I'm trying to remember how old I was. I think I was like maybe 8 or 9.
Oh
What is
man.
that? Like second, third grade?
It's
What
like,
is that?
yeah, second and third grade.
Okay, so mind you, there was this boy, and
Ooh.
he in class, I was like, I had the biggest crush. Chamacos, I mean, whatever, but like Yoko me crush. And this kid totally came up to me during class and he was just like all googly eyed and he was, I want you to have this sharpener. And then I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, it's a gift from me to you. And I was so happy. Luna, I was so ecstatic. I was like, my heart was just, I was melting, right? From like this sweet gift this kid gave me. And I think about it now, I'm like, well, it makes sense. One of my love languages is gifts. So, of course, the kid got me in the heart.
She was like, not the
And
sacapuntas.
no, espérate, estaba bien bonito. It
Hmm.
was one of those like hardcore silver ones,
For
right?
construction.
Girl, it was circular and it was so cute. And I was like, oh, like I was so happy. Like I like lo cuidé con mi vida, right? And then like the next morning, now my mom and I are getting ready for school. She's about to take me. And I remember like I had it in my hand. I didn't even have it in my backpack. I was carrying
Of
that shit in my
course.
hand.
She said, my whole heart.
You got the whole world in my hand. And so I'm sitting in the car and like she's warming up the car, whatever. And then I like was so happy looking at it, right? And I look at my mom, I was like, Mom, and she's like, ¿Qué es eso? I was like, oh, me lo regaló un niño en la escuela. She started yelling at me, telling me, no más que andes de volada, ¿eh? No más que andes haciendo cosas que no deberías andar haciendo. I had never felt so like ashamed where I was like, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. But in that moment, my mom made me feel as if I had already like committed the crime, right?
Oh no.
And
Yeah.
so I just, I'll never forget how and then ya lo agarré, y lo guardé en mi mochila, y ya no lo saqué. And that's like, I honestly remember that this was the time that I think I pretty much like an agreement with myself that I can't tell my mom things because I was like, me va a acusar, me va a regañar, me va a decir que no está
Damn.
bien. And so ever since then, like I think that's like the final time I ever like really was like openly excited to share something with her about something like that when it came to a boy. And I was like, that's it. Like I can't tell her these things. Me va a regañar, me va a sentir mal. And it's funny when we say like, oh, she made me feel like she didn't make it's just her reaction caused me to feel as if I was just consistently doing something wrong. And so from there, I stopped sharing these little things.
That's insane. From 8 years old, 8 or 9 years old, to already like knowing, you know what? I'm not even gonna go there because your reaction literally it traumatized me.
I'm
That's
sorry.
great. No, it's crazy. That's
All I
wow.
kept thinking, like now that I think about it, all I keep thinking about is how, what the hell were we gonna do at that age? Like, ¿qué iba a saber
Right.
yo? I really
Mm-hmm.
was one of those innocent kids that like,
Yeah.
and plus I think a lot of us during that time, the 90 babies, like, no que dijeras, ay, que todos eran inocentes or whatever, but a lot of us were because we didn't have access to internet. We
Yeah,
didn't
we were
have
growing
like that
up.
type of,
Mhm.
right. And I think about it and I was like, yo sí era inocente. Yo en mi mente no tenía nada de que like, oh, let's go have sex after recess. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know what drugs were at the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it's like I say all the time, like the 90s babies were growing up, especially like early 90s. We were growing up as internet was becoming more what is it, more accessible, right? And so we were still like, nada que ver. Like a computer to us was like, well, specifically like for me, my sister had one, pero yo lo que hacía, nomás me quedaba viendo the screen. And like, you know how like it used to be like the Tetris, like kind of like that. And like, yeah, I would be staring off into the screen. I didn't even know like what AOL was for.
You got mail.
Literally. Like computers weren't even what they are now at all. So that's insane. For her
That,
to even yeah, for her to even be like, no más que andes de volada. Like, ma'am, that's not even in my playbook.
and you know what? I think about it now that I think in Mexico, como están más avanzados mentalmente when it comes to, I guess, like more real life situations because they're hit
Yeah.
more head on and families are a lot more honest, like without like, they're not filtering
Hmm.
their kids out there. And I notice this because like I have a cousin and like, and he married a woman que se trajo de Mexico, right? And she is like full on like upfront, frank, and honest when she talks to her kids. She didn't talk to her kids like if they were kids. She talked to them like they were an adult, like both
Mm,
of them. So era de que todo les decía, si alguien falleció, alguien falleció. Si esto pasó, esto pasó. Like era like en vez de platicarlo in like filtering, pues for a kid, like she would just like tell them lo que era y ya. And I think that I would think that that's what my mom was. I don't think she realized what she had at home with how I was, or at least to say like, oh, pues mi hija es, ella no sabe eso, or I don't know, maybe I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's something that's stuck onto me. I'm 31 years old, and that shit still comes up in my mind.
you're like, se me quedó engraved. That's, yeah. I think that's hard. I think that like specifically like with parents that are from pueblitos or from Latin America, I think it's like you say, like you hit the nail on the head, saying that specifically como your cousin's wife, how she doesn't filter anything, how she's straight up with her kids, and like that's ideal too, but also at the same time sometimes as adults not filtering things but almost keeping them simple and for children to understand. And it's like you say, you don't think that your mom realized like, oh, you know, mi hija no es así. But then also at the same time, like what comes up in my head is mis tías se casaron cuando tenían 15 años. So, y allá en el rancho se acostumbra a que se las roben primero y luego se casan, right? And so I'm wondering if maybe that was in her head a little bit. But
Right.
even then, it's like you're talking to an 8-year-old. Like we're still obsessed with stickers, gel pens,
And
fish.
sharpeners.
Exactly. Like you see how near and dear I kept this to my heart. I don't know. It's interesting. Like sometimes I wish I could like pick our parents' brain and think about what they were thinking about during that time.
Right, because these are things that like se grabaron para nosotros. For them fue cualquier día. So even
Oh
if you
yeah.
mention that, va a
Oh,
decir,
they're
"Ay, no me
yeah.
acuerdo.
Yeah, they're like, yo
No
nunca
me acuerdo."
hice eso.
Right.
Like, girl, these are pivotal moments in my life.
This frames who I am now.
Right, because obviously no ando de balada.
¿Qué iban a saber, dude?
Right.
Like even just for example, birth control. There's no way. And then having kids at 15, 16 years old, like
Yeah, I can definitely, I think about that all the time too. Que I'm just like, I don't know. ¿Cómo le hacían? Y luego, okay, so I heard this thing from my grandma when she was, I need to stop. But my grandma was telling me about about a time that cuando ella creció, right? Cuando ella estaba creciendo, cuando sus hijos crecieron y se casaron, and how when she got married, she lived in the same house with her suegros, and que la suegra, like the day que se la llevó mi abuelo, the next day la suegra estaba viendo a ver si sacaba my grandma las sábanas. And if she did, like, para que my grandma lavara las sábanas y les quitara the blood. So you know what like that's going to, right? That's
Right.
going like to, oh, she lost her virginity. So like they wanted to know if they had consummated their marriage, basically. And so
Wow.
then that became a tradition where like cuando sus hijos se casaban y traían a la esposa a vivir con ellos, ella se levantaba bien tempranito para ver si la nuera sacaba las sábanas to see if they had consummated their marriage.
That's insane. I mean, I believe it, but the thought of that now.
Yeah, like girl, that's my business, not yours. Yeah, I remember her telling me that. But you know what? Your story reminded me a lot about something that I had talked to my mom about, birth control. And
Conversation with her about that.
yeah,
I've never.
okay, so here's why. When I first started using birth control, I think I was like 16. Nobody had ever talked to me about it, just the version of what school gave you. That was kind of it. But I decided I wanted to get on birth control because, of reasons. I had a boyfriend at the time,
You were having
and
sex.
mhm, I was gonna start to. I was planning to, and I was like, what better way than to be prepared? I wasn't gonna start to, yeah, yeah, yeah. Pero like this was the first time that I had like a steady boyfriend at the time, and I wanted to be safe. So the first time that I got it, I remember keeping it very hidden from my parents. Um, no les decía nada. I think like the local Planned Parenthood, you would have to figure out a way to get there. Pero antes iban también a la escuela. Like the mobile clinic for Planned Parenthood would go to the school and you would make an appointment. They would pull you out during class
I remember
and
that.
yeah, and you would go in, you would talk to them about what you needed to talk to them about. And they would prescribe you birth control. And so yeah, I remember keeping that very hidden in my room, like en una caja adentro de un zapato, just very hidden. And then I remember not being so emotional, so like crazy at the time. That's literally how I describe myself, crazy, because I felt like I was losing control. So I stopped using that birth control. And then I went back like a year later and ended up using the ring. Pero the ring, they tell you that you have to keep it in the fridge because they need to be like at a certain temperature for them to work. Y pues, ¿cómo? Ni modo que tuviera un mini fridge en el cuarto, ¿verdad? Like I didn't. And so I don't remember exactly how I kept them, but fast forward to me being 22, 23 years old, don't remember the exact age. And I remember coming home and I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, ya tengo 22, 23 años. You would
Ya,
think,
ya estoy grande.
yeah, you would think ya se hizo la idea. And so I came home and I put my birth control in the fridge. And she was like, yeah, like adentro de una cajita, en una bolsa café. Y le dije, hey, esta cajita es mía, like, tiene esto adentro, no lo vas a tocar. Girl, she was livid,
Oh God.
livid. She didn't talk to me about it, pero yo lo metí en la cajita para que every time she opened the fridge no se recordara, like, no nomás diera como la bolsa café, like to see, like a mí pensaba que, oh, maybe she's gonna think it's so vulgar of me to keep it in there, right?
Right.
And so that was that. We didn't talk. So fast forward to me being 27 and sitting in the Starbucks drive-through and telling her, oh, I switched my birth control over. I was using the IUD and I switched over to the pill. And I was like, a ver cómo me va. And I started asking her personal questions about like, were you ever on birth control? And I was like, cuando cuando tú estabas en birth control, ¿cómo te sentías? Como, just super like To me, it's mother-daughter. It's almost a woman to
Woman to
woman.
woman conversation.
Yeah, and it's a person that you should be able to have this conversation with.
Si no, pues
Well,
con quién, right?
exactly. Pues así yo pienso, ¿verdad?
Así
Pero,
pensamos.
ujú, so yeah, sus contestaciones fueron bien cortantes. Le dije, oh, antes de que tuvieras a mi hermana, were you using birth control? And she was like, sí. And it was that. It was very much just that. It was yes, no answers. And so we ordered our drinks, and then, you go a little forward, right? Y le digo, cuando tú estabas creciendo y tuviste a tu mamá, because her mom is no longer here, may she rest in peace, but I asked her, cuando tú tenías a tu mamá, tú pudiste haber ido con ella y le platicaste about using birth control? And she just stays quiet, but then she como que reacciona y me pregunta, well, why are you asking me that? And I'm like, because if you did tell your mom and you were able to have that relationship, that open communication between you and your mom, I want you to think about how that felt to you. Think about all the questions that you asked her. Think about the emotions that you were going through. Think about the things that were happening to your body and how you could go to your mom and talk to her about it. Granted, my grandmother was very reserved. Also, she grew up in la época where birth control, I think, was like not even a thing, not even an option. Like probably the only birth control there was condoms at the time, if that, right? When I asked her that, again, very quiet, she didn't think about it. And then I said, and if she didn't, if she was very closed off, what did you feel? Did you think about, I wish my mom would? I wish my mom would be open about situations like this. I wish she would communicate with me. I'm like, think about the two opposing views. Now think of me as your daughter wanting to be able to come to you and ask you, because as a woman, as a grown woman, you have more experience in this situation than I do. I'm like, if anything, you should be not happy because it's not something to be happy or prideful about, but you should think about it. Okay, at least she's taking care of herself. At least she's not bringing in her domingo siete, as literally my entire life growing up, she would tell me. And it would be like, primero tu degree, no me vais a salir con pendejadas ni con un domingo siete. And so now that at this point, I'm like, I already have my degree. Like I gave you my degree and I'm still taking care of myself,
Mhm.
you know? And granted, I still live
This
at home
was
and everything.
this was a deep ass conversation for a Starbucks
For a
drive-through.
yes, for a Starbucks drive-through. And so, like, it was a long ass line, but we approached the window. And so she kind of has that simmering in her head because she hadn't responded to me at that point. So the person hands us our drinks, whatever. And so then I tell her, you know, what what do you think? And she's like, sí, yo estoy orgullosa de ti, yo estoy orgullosa que nunca te, que no te has embarazado, que this and that. And I'm just like, that's not what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is that if you were able to go to your mom with these things, or if you weren't, wouldn't you want to put yourself in the mindset of, okay, with my daughter, if I ever have a daughter, I want to be able to have these conversations, because who better than me as an experienced woman and going through life to talk about these things with my daughter than somebody else, right? I'd rather give her the advice than have somebody else give her the wrong advice. Well, Sol nunca me respondió.
I wasn't expecting to hear a response, to be
Yeah,
honest.
nunca me respondió. She just let it sit.
And
It's
she
been,
had nowhere to go when you were both sitting in the car.
yeah, and that's the thing. When I've told you before, when we have these deep conversations, se me va. Literally, se va a su cuarto. Ayer was an
You run.
example. Yeah, and I'm just like, come on, don't run. Like, let's have a dialogue, let's discuss as a teacher, like let's have this five exchange conversation, and so yeah, she just ends up walking away running. And like you say, she was in the car. And it's like I tell her, why do you shut down? Why do you make me feel bad? And she goes, I'm not making you feel bad. If anything, I'm proud. I'm proud that you haven't gotten proud. I'm proud that you're not one of those pendejas like out que no hizo nada con su vida. And I'm like,
Casi
those,
regañándote.
yeah. Y le digo,
Ujú.
y eso es lo que me enoja, porque le digo, no son las muchachas que les pasa eso, no son pendejas. Es algo que les pasó, es parte de su historia, and why are you disrespecting them for it? And you know what's so crazy to me? Que she was a teen mom
Mm,
in El Salvador, where she's from. She was a teen mom. And
right,
so I'm just that makes me think more of why are you not open to this?
right. It just reminds me of the way my mom is because, first of all, she is the type to just run. She'll definitely just run. I think it's just more of a whatever type of conversation that just makes her uncomfortable. Or we've had conversations where she's like, she'll say everything she wants to say, right? Like everything that has to do with whatever her
Mm-hmm.
opinion is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's my turn and she's like, no voy a discutir esto. And she'll run off. The fuck?
It's so frustrating. I don't know if
And
y'all can relate, estrellitas, but it's so frustrating.
it's funny. And I laugh because I used to just, me dejaba ahí, la boca abierta, like, and now you'll see my ass chasing after her to
Oh
her
yeah.
room.
Mm-hmm.
Like at this point, it's like, girl, no, no me cierre la puerta. Aquí no cerramos puertas.
Period. And I'm gonna get my point across. So listen, whether you want to or not.
And it's crazy because it just it goes to the question, right? How sex is so taboo. Why and what causes this generational trauma and how that's passed on. It's the same thing with this, but it's the costumbres, it's the mentality. If you think about it, like in my example with Mexico, it's like the Spaniards came, they took over, and then what did they bring? They brought religion,
Su
right?
puta
And so,
religión.
and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's like the origin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And empezaron con las creencias y como no se sabía de otra cosa, y era de que it was obligatory, like legit, like you are meant to think like this, you're supposed to do things like that, and that's it. And
Yeah.
so even like how the Bible, like not to get religious, but how it talks about women being submissive, women being silent, women being like
Mm-hmm.
not even the second gender, like they didn't have that position either. Instead of saying a un lado es una mujer de un hombre, but they're like, well, she came from a rib, so
Girl,
she's a
yes, I was
like,
about to tell you that.
shut the fuck up.
My grandma, girl, my grandma would be like, la mujer salió de la costilla del hombre. Dios la hizo así para que estuviera a su lado. And I'm like, ma'am, we are equals in this or not at all.
I'm telling you. So it's like, no, and because like that's what they grew up with. Y es como mi broma all the time de que when like I hear que so and so ya tiene otro niño, not that kids are bad. I don't think that. It's just like because of this fucking belief of no contraceptives, the accessibility of sex health, like the fuck, like this is the reason why like they're continuously having kids, and it's like no tienen tele. That's always what I say, right? No tienen tele, hay que comprarle tele, like regalar una telecita
She said,
because
let's
now
make a fucking alcancía.
I'll have
My
them build some
favorite,
budgets.
my favorite is Dios me lo mandó. Ma'am, of course Dios te lo va a mandar if we're not using birth control. If you were using a birth control and that happened,
It's like when you do
then it
A,
would be a
obviously
miracle. Mhm.
you obviously will get B.
Yes,
But
I
that's
know.
just it because of the fact that if moms are having these conversations with daughters, of course it's going to happen, right? And it's because our moms and their moms, like they didn't have these type of conversations either to get into and say, no, pues mija, usa esto, es el otro. It's like not having real conversations until they're married. because it's like, ahora sí, ya te casaste, ya eres señora, ya podemos hablar. Instead of having these conversations before they get married.
Yeah.
Why are we waiting until then? Like, don't give so much power and value to the man or person that they choose to get married to. Instead, give that power to your daughters, to your kids
Right.
who need that type of like conversation and empowerment from you, because you have the knowledge. You should be sharing that, not holding
Exactly.
back on it because it makes you uncomfortable. Do you want your child to feel uncomfortable? Like, they're capable of that, but they're choosing not to because the issue is always going to be that it's easier to keep your mouth shut. It's easier to have them figure it out. Pero por no hacerlo de que, like, oh, it's going to take work, but, I need to do this. Like, my dad was the one who had these conversations with me growing up. It was never my mom. My mom nunca me decía de que, like, oh, mija, pues es que cuídate, que esto, y nomás que andes de volada, nomás que andes con cosas. Like, that was her telling me. Those are my sex talks. Those were my boy conversations. And with my dad, like, he legit told me my boobs were going to grow. Like, my dad, he went all in on these conversations.
Yeah.
And I admire that because I'm sure it was uncomfortable for
Oh
him
yeah.
being a man telling his daughter that, she's going to go through puberty.
Yeah.
But he did it anyway because his thing had always been like, I want to beat everyone else to the punch, whether it's like society, whether it's like friends, peers. He always did. And I think about that with my mom, that I'm like, I got my period when I was like 12. I think it was like 11, 12. And I remember like coming up to my mom and she's like, okay, well, here's a pad. And then I'm just like,
And they
all
give you
right.
the fucking diaper, like the big ass one that they
Mira,
use
no te
from
burles.
front to
No
back.
te burles.
The
Me cubrió
the
todo.
thick ass one.
Did
Son
not be
woke up and
shaming
was
the
like,
big Protex.
I look a little cakey today. Wow.
Shut up.
Oh my God. But
But,
as a 12-year-old wearing that, like, of course, it works for a 30-something-year-old woman, but for a 12-year-old, ma'am, my
it's because,
cucaracha is not that big. Yeah.
yet, I love how you added that. Dude, I can't. So, yeah, so at that point, it's like, okay, my mom didn't have this conversation, but I remember even like days after, I was upset because my mom wanted to tell me, oh, well, I told your cousin about how you got your period, and oh my God, like, we just were crying. And it's like, oh yeah, she's a woman now.
Yes,
And all I'm
señorita.
thinking, I'm like, where the fuck was that emotion when I told you I got it? Like, I would appreciated like you to come and cry. Like, I would have cried with you, girl.
Period.
Oh my God.
Yes, señorita La Sol. Ay, Dios.
I
Oh,
can't, dude, I
man.
swear. But it's sad because, like, if you think about it, when it came to having conversations like this, like, my mom never even had conversations with me about loving my body, right? I was never taught to love my body. I was just told to respect my body.
Oof. Take a moment. Digest for a second.
My mom has like this like idea that, like, with our family, it's like, es que te tienes que mirar bien, eso no se mira bien, eso sí se mira bien, but it was never like to a point where you could tell me, es que tu cuerpo it's a temple, it's, you have to love your body, es lo que los levanta, es lo que los lleva, es lo que lo trae, like, es de cuidarlo. And it's like, I never got that type of empowerment. And it's like, it breaks my heart for me as a kid because growing up, like, I did deal with girls in school where they told me I was ugly.
Oh, man.
And instead of me like being able to like have the confidence, I believed it because I didn't have any confidence like that, or at least like to like be like, oh, I don't care what they say. No, there was no way. And like, it wasn't until as I got older, I got the confidence myself. And it's like, but my mom wants to take credit for that. It's like, no, like you told me that I need to watch out what I do like on stage, but backstage, I'm doing whatever the hell I want. And I'm making sure no one knows because it's not just because of what people are saying I'm going to hold back on it. It's just you taught me to be very quiet about it. You just taught me to be a quiet hoe. You know, I'm not a hoe in front, but I'll be a hoe in the backstage.
Oh man. Oh my
and it
gosh.
and it's that same thing that it empowered me. I'm sorry, but people want to talk about, you know, how women are sluts and women's are hoes. Fuck yeah, power to you. Power to you
Right.
because of the fact that like you want to do it. If that makes it helped me. It boosted my confidence, it boosted my self-esteem because that's when I was the one in charge of what I wanted to do. At least like or at least be happy with my body because I loved my body and I
Yeah.
knew like girl had urges, girl had desires. What was I gonna do? Sit there and not get them because my religion told me I can't? No.
And see, the thing is, I think when I first heard you say, when I first heard you say that, like that you were never taught to love your body, you were just taught to respect it. I remember thinking about my entire childhood, my entire teenage years, even into early adulthood. It was always, pues cuídate, tu virginidad es algo um, tan hermoso que eso lo tienes que aguardar hasta que te cases, right? And so it's like you're giving that power to the man that you're going to marry. You're giving that power to the person that you're going to be with again because you need to be submissive, you need to be pure, you need to be this, you need to be that. And then they question why we look for a man so early on to validate us, to tell us, hey,
Very good
you're,
point.
you're beautiful. Hey, your tits are nice, right? And so it's
Go
because,
tits.
yeah, but it's because of you're making it so that it's engraved in me that a man is going to validate me, a man is going to make me feel good, and so I need to look for a man to um
Get
give me,
attention.
yeah, to get attention, to give me, to validate all these feelings that I'm feeling. But then you get surprised when I'm 15, 16 and my hormones are fucking raging, when I do go out and look for that validation and I get it and you're shocked like, y esta de dónde salió con novio, or like, oh, it's such a bad thing to have a boyfriend at that age, right? And so now that you're saying that, I've literally just made the connection of why women look for men to validate them. And not all women, right? But like specifically in my world, why I
Praise
look
to you for
so
saying that.
much, yeah, why I look so much for guy attention. And this is not to say that I was like a hoe or anything, but it always
I
felt
was.
but it always felt so good to hear, oh, you're pretty, because again, like you, I was bullied too, and I was bullied until I was fucking 9th, 10th grade. And even then, 11th and 12th grade, I felt,
Bitches.
yeah, I felt so ugly. Nunca me sentía que I was good enough or that I was pretty enough. I literally would always, I couldn't be around girl, like friends that were girls of mine that were really pretty and feel confident. And so, but it also helped me because I had a lot of guy friends. Like it was my thing. Like I had hella guy friends. And
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't feel that intimidation of, oh, or he thinks I'm pretty. No,
No
I
te
literally,
peinaste.
yeah, I
No.
literally thought I
Mm-hmm.
was one of the guys, like I didn't care how I looked. And so I ended up getting along very well with guys. And literally, they were some of my best friends. And so I remember girls saying, like, oh, she's a hoe, because I had so many guy friends and I was so
Of
close
course.
to all these guys. And so
Of course.
yeah, and then, oh my God, olvídate que my dad would find out that I was talking to guys at all. Literally, like he would go through my phone and he'd be like, ¿Quién es este? ¿Y por qué están hablando? ¿Y por qué te habla? And it's like, because he's my friend. You don't understand? So yeah, my dad, olvídate, de que he would be literally he would go through my phone and he'd be like, ¿Quién es este? ¿Quién es este? ¿Y por qué están hablando? It's like, cause son mis amigos. I literally would have to sit there and explain who each person was, why we were friends, how we met. And so my dad knew all my friends. Y cuando conocía que tenía una friend que era una niña, he'd be like, ¿de dónde salió esta? For him, it was that the girls were the bad influences versus the guys being the bad influences.
He
But he
noticed that.
but he had to learn that. He had to
Right.
learn that. And
Because he was open to it, right? Because you were
mhm,
persistent and
yeah,
he was open to like, okay, I see. I noticed my daughter's habits.
yeah. And so it's just something so complicated talking about sex. I don't know why our creators are like that, man, that sex is so taboo.
Dude, I found one of those Kama Sutra books in my mom's drawers once.
Like, yeah, girl, I know you be trying.
No, girl, I didn't know. I didn't know what that was, right? Like, I was like, what is? And I like opened it and I was like, ay, y lo cerré. I think I was like, like around that time, probably like maybe fifth grade, because I remember that. I remember, I don't know what I was looking for, and I like saw it and I was like, ah. And I think again, like I was curious, fucking as a child, yeah, this was, I was like, I want to see what that was. So then I guess my mom, I don't know where she was. I went to her room and I looked, ya no estaba. So ya no supe ni qué.
She said, me lo movieron.
Dude, I don't know if like that was just my calling, not sex, but like being interested in,
Mhm.
because like I was honestly one of those girls that had Barbies and would make them have sex.
Oh, yeah,
I
me
don't
too.
I didn't know what sex was, but I just like los
Yeah.
pegaba pegaditos para que se los dieran.
Yo les abría las patas.
Scissor? You had most of the point. At least you got, we're abriendo las piernas. I just had
Right.
boom.
Es porque a mí siempre me decían, y no ves andar abriendo las patas.
And you're like, las voy a abrir.
I was like, I won't do it, but I'll do it to the Barbies.
And she likes it.
She consents.
Girl, we're finally like sitting there playing all horny. We didn't even know it.
That part. We need to like put that on a shirt. All right, estrellitas. It doesn't end here. Don't forget to give us a like and go and follow us on all social media platforms.
Subscribe and go listen to part 2.
And to all our estrellitas out there, just wanted to let you know to continue shining your light and let your stories be heard.